Sane, for the invitation. I will do my best to give you, of course, I think a good but still general overview of how we can handle this, but also probably what will be the impact and the most probable impact on association activities, of course, leadership and governance, visibility and credibility. That's of course, and membership value. Maybe before I start, I must let you know that I could do an entire webinar to every specific topic. So I'll be glad to take questions even by email and reply to them, especially if they require probably a more deep answer. Maybe give me the time to come back to you. If you're also looking for platforms, case study, any advice or software that I might recommend, please also feel free to ask.
Thank you.
So. Great. Can I move on?
Yes, please.
All right. So if everything is working, you should see the second slide about the impact. I mean, of course, before starting the discussion of how we can keep working, I think it's first really important to understand what will be impacted by the COVID-19. Well, in my experience in the association we are working with at Interel, it seems that, of course, event and activities can be congress, lectures, any even online events will be impacted. De facto, speakers cannot travel anymore, and that will affect, of course, then partnership and any sponsor. Then we have the leadership and the governance side. Well, especially for the association, we have a staff, a team. You will see really quickly that it's also a struggle. The classic way of working, to see yourselves in the office, to have meetings between internal but also external part of the team might actually be really difficult when working from home. And I'm even not speaking yet about the working environment of working from home, as when we might have our family, colleagues, or roommates living with us. Then the visibility and the credibility, I think more than ever, everyone is looking into the websites and social media of every association, newsletter, actually every general communication channel. And I think some associations were probably really good in terms of social communication. However, others will discover really quickly that because of the lack of investment before, they might be really impacted today, as it's actually probably the only way of communicating with members, but also with externals. And then finally, but I think it's really important to keep it in mind, is the membership value, the classic value added of having networking events, classic meeting, exchange of information will be also a challenge, and therefore the membership value on entire association must be also challenged. And I think it's really important for leaders, but also for any association to take that in consideration, maybe to add extra value during this time, or to revise the model of membership value for an upcoming weeks or months. I will then come back now to maybe the event and activity part. I mean, of course, the risk, and it's already happening, it's to be forced to cancel an event or to postpone it. I'm passing, of course, the legal and every financial impact, which I think, of course, are probably more really obvious if you don't organize the event. I think what is really important for me, it's more to give you tips and tricks. So far, we have tried to perform online activities, and I think many platforms are there where you could actually have like a proper debate, well, such as Zoom. Actually, we are using it now, but I also have others such as GoToMeeting that will allow you to share the event, that will allow you to promote it on an online way, but that will also allow you to facilitate exchange, Q&A session, and then therefore having a debate. So I don't think that COVID have destroyed any possibility of meeting up. I think you actually have just somehow force a really fast transition into an online way of meeting. I think the second aspect is the membership management software. Of course, you will have the classic aspect of updating in your website and updating your social media, but also think about the way of creating a community to your members. Maybe more than before, the idea of having forums, the idea of sharing experience, case studies, be actually willing to listen to the needs of your members and expectation during that challenging time might actually be your way to solve it, or at least to go with this crisis time. The membership management software, it's something that I think still the association management world is struggling with. But I think it helps a lot to engage online members. So for the ones who will not be aware of what is a membership management software, it's just basically a specific portal, online portal dedicated to your members to make sure that they get benefits towards their membership fee towards the association. So keep this in mind, and again, I will be glad to share with you some platforms. And then last but not least, and I think it's really relevant at the moment, is everything related to online courses and creation. I think it's one thing to try to perform events online. I think it's another thing to try to build knowledge and actually empower members. So it might be the right time for you to create online courses, to create online certificates. Make sure that in the end of this period, your staff, your members, your partners will actually deliver something that could be used in the future. And if you need any training at the moment, that you would like to learn new tools, I think this is actually a really amazing time to do so. Let's maybe move on. I think I will take the entire Q&A session. Maybe in the end might be easier. And the second aspect is the leadership and governance. Of course, we are not anymore in the office. So in terms of internal structure, but also decision making, it's probably affecting quite a lot. And again, the new environment, working from home, was not really prepared. It's something that just happened, and I think all of us need somehow to adjust to this new reality. The task and division and coordination will also be affected. The classic of how many meetings you will have per day, how you will track, especially when you work in team into a project, how you will make sure that you have enough communication, but not too much, in order to, of course, not be overwhelmed. So this is a bit the strategy behind. And that the staff motivation, I think it's one thing, of course, to perform the same amount of tasks that you were doing before, but again, you will lose this connection between staff members, between this feeling of being part of the team. And this also needs to be tackled into a strategy, in my point of view. So maybe to give you again tips and tricks, I think it will make sense, but that still I see it missing quite a lot when I meet new teams, is you need to set a new team rules. The amount of team you would like to have per day, the objectives are set. How do you evaluate them? I can give you an example. In my team at Interel, we have team meetings every morning where we go through our objectives for the day, where we actually also ask if we need any help, set meetings in advance with our colleagues, and then we plan a day. So it might be also a good time for you to just, let's create a new convention, let's create new team rules and decide when we do what. And again, I think a really classic one for organizing your day, I think in terms of office, was mainly to be able to switch between different tasks. And I think now the challenge is also to make sure that you add your personal life on it too. I think breaks are important. I think lunchtime and dinner and everything else, it's still important. And I assume you're all now over connected. So maybe the right of disconnected will be also something important to discuss with your team. Then create a good working environment and relationship. Well, as you can see, you of course need a certain amount of things to be able to perform your role. So make sure to discuss it with your team or with your association, and make sure you have the good environment to do so. No noisy in the background. If you of course have kids or people at home, make sure that they will understand that you need a time for yourself, but also to be able to work. And then I will keep the most, I think, important, the organizing, track and manage your work. I think it's a classic one. I hope you still do it also during your office time, but I think programs such Asana might help you a lot. The one I really want to focus in is the trust on your team and empower them. I think it's really hard at the moment for everyone to not have the classic structure of just delegating work, but I think this is more important now to also give new tasks to new team members, empower them, involving them on the work. It's a really long day when you're not connected with your team, so trying new things, make sure that you have some diversity on the work might be really relevant in this challenging time. The other aspect is, of course, the visibility and the credibility. I think the association, more than before, will be checked out and double checked actually in their social media, in their website, but also in the content you produce. I'm sure you have realized that everyone is producing a new content, new newsletter, more and more infos. That's just because it's the only way at the moment to make sure that you still perform and add something on your membership value. I think my tips regarding the visibility is, of course, first understand your values. It's not the time to change your communication or to just try to make the entire, I would say, fancy or popular tool. Make sure you still fit the values that you are really well known for, but also that you meet your, of course, audience expectation and needs. And I think the second aspect that will be more probably important is to be consistent on that. I think I've seen many associations performing articles about COVID-19, but I think more than just performing one article, it's probably more important to make sure that we will update it and we will have always a task force, a team dedicated to a specific topic. So make sure to publish post or just one news, but make sure to also have a logic behind that you can take a member with you from the first day until the last day. Hopefully will be finished really soon. Then the give back and empower, I think, is an association. If you want to increase your credibility, make sure to be involved on every action that impacts your sector. If you have other competitors, if you have other association who are working on the same area that you, maybe it's also time to get together, to join statements, to approach for EU funds, to release resources for your members. I think it's really time to get together. And then it's actually linked to my last advice is, as every umbrella association, I think more than ever, you need to be the voice and the first actor of experience sharing. So do the same that actually Sana is doing now. Create possibilities for your members to join together, to exchange, to raise concern, and make sure that out of it you can have an actually global action for your members, but also for your industry. Now we will come back, I think, to the last aspect, but not the least, is the membership value.
You have 1 minute, Filipe. Sorry, 1 minute.
Yeah. All right, good. That's fine. I just have one slide left. So for the membership value is the expectation of needs, and of course the sense of belonging that will be struggling. Your members might not feel anymore the need, because they will have financial issues, to just be part of such a global association. I think my tip for you is first show empathy and understanding. I think if you can postpone the payments, for example, of membership fee, that's the right moment to do so, but also provide a target and valuable content that fulfill their needs. Improve the members of experience, as I said. Make sure that you have the right platforms at the moment to perform any online exchange and communication between members. Provide professional and personal development resources. They will be looking into something that they can sell to their members. So make sure to have something relevant to your industry. And then last but not least, build a community feeling. I think more than ever, they need to get together and having a platform to exchange. I think that's it from my side to give you a global overview. But as I said, I will be glad to take any question now or also by email. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Filipe, for this very interesting presentation. As we mentioned at the beginning, we're going to share the presentation with all the participants. Now, because we don't want to have like long, boring webinars, we want to make it short but straight to the point. So I'll give the floor to the participants. We have 15 minutes for questions and answers. So please feel free to ask your questions.
Hey, can I go first?
Yes, please.
Hey, Filipe. I got a question because I'm starting a new organization with some friends in Poland. Coronavirus really affects our possibilities and of promoting our organization. So, how do you see we can overcome these disadvantages?
All right. Well, the promotion aspect is of course really hard. I think three key action will need to be taken. I will say you have the classic marketing, of course. You will need to be present in social media, but I think more important is to make sure that the content is shared by your organization. So maybe before starting and investing a lot of time into let's produce wonderful marketing content, I think what you will need first is focusing on creating a network that will be there to help you to share it. So I think my two actions will be that one will be to maybe gather together who can help me into supporting the promotion of my events, and then I would say investing time and quality in terms of social media content, and make sure I'm present on every channel that might be useful or relevant for my members.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, I have a question, Sana. This is Feline. I have a small clean energy firm in the Philippines. I just wanted to ask Filipe about what he meant when he said, like, don't necessarily change your communications. Now is not the time. How exactly did you mean for that to be followed by organizations in this, especially in the context of the corona crisis?
Great, thank you very much for your question. Well, what I meant is it's to not change the value behind your communication. I think of course now it's important to make sure that if you had a specific cause that you were defending or promoting, you need to make sure that now you do it, and not just use new goals or joining thousands of new groups of supporting or making thousands of other new statements, because otherwise your communication will be too diverse and too split, so your members will lose interest. So what I meant more is, of course you need to perform communication related to COVID-19, but I think that will actually reflect what impacts your sector, and not try to have too general communication. I see a lot of at the moment building new pages, joining other associations who are not connected at all to the specific market, and then it starts to be really difficult for partners but also externals to understand what is actually your value behind. What do you try to sell? What do you try to gather? And maybe then the question will be, why should they join you, as you're not really focusing, or let's say focusing on too many topics. So I think that's my message now is make sure that yes, you produce content, make sure it's relevant towards your purpose and also towards the association needs and values.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? I actually have a question. It's more concerning about, at the end of the day, associations, organizations, they don't all depend on membership of, members. They have also responsibilities toward their donors, the funders, the investors. And in that case, it's very difficult because, for instance, there are a lot of women who are running organizations who have been contacting Womenpreneur, who have said that donors kind of stopped the contract with them, and they have a whole team that is dependent basically on the resources of the organization. So how association can deal with that issue, which is very important one?
So that's I definitely agree. That's a really, really hard one. I mean, sadly, I think you will have an impact. That's for sure. I think the strategy there will be to make sure you involve the donator and that you change the initial relation. Most of the time, you have this classic sponsor or partnership, where it is I give you something in exchange of something else. I think there it will need to be rethinking to make sure that the partner and donator becomes our ambassador, make sure it join our actions, make sure also we can get something back. I see thousands of survey being created at the moment, and I think it's the right tool to provide to the donator maybe an evaluation how their members might be perceived, their own company or their own association. So I think it's just a switch, but a really difficult switch to do, in terms of stopping the classic relation of receiving something against money or with money, but into how we will make sure that the donator will be part of our action, and also then will get stronger out of our campaign, out of our projects. I think if we make that switch, it might be easier to deal with that situation.
Great, thank you, Philippe. Any other questions? Do you want to add on anything else you've been kind of, discussing before? It's for you, Philippe. It's a question for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think my main message, and that's actually what I really would like to say to all the association in the world, if I could, and if I had the channel to do so, is, of course, it's obvious that COVID-19 is impacting negatively the sector, and I think pretending the opposite will just be not worth it. However, I see an opportunity also to grow. I see an opportunity to reflect, and then I see an opportunity to strategize. And I think in this time, and especially when we are working for an association that is pretty well established already, it's always pretty hard to challenge the current status quo. And I think COVID-19 also gave that opportunity. Maybe it's time to have an entire discussion of what is our values, what is our purpose, what do we want to achieve in the end. And I think the COVID-19 is giving this time to every association. And I'm not saying that it's not going to be hard on all the project, but I'm saying that more important than just suffering the situation and just trying to survive these few months, I think a plan will need to be created, and a discussion will need to be started into what we will do after COVID-19. I think most of the plans at the moment are only about how we will survive to COVID-19, but as we went really quickly into this whole situation, I think we might also leave it really, really soon. And I think we need to be ready for it. So my message is, keep in mind, yes, that you need to take short action to surviving this crisis, but probably more important, you need to think about actions that how your association will be dealing and starting again after COVID-19.
Great, thank you so much, Philippe, for the conclusion, and I thank everyone for joining. If you don't have any question, I will close the discussion. Karim, you have a question. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Karim Thabit from Jordan. Actually, I have two remarks. Maybe you can consider them as question if you would like.
Yes, please.
Sorry. The first one you mentioned regarding home office to set reporting time and objectives, and you mentioned also this kind of everyday check-in, yeah, with the team. Mm-hmm. This is one thing. And the other thing regarding the relationship with the partner organization, when you have CBOs working in different governorates, actually, it is difficult to have this kind of virtual communication. I will come to this point later. But the first point I find in my case to convince, let's say, the team to have this kind of check-in every day, because they have their concern. They would like also to deal with their, let's say, situation, working from home and so on. And I don't think it makes sense everyday check-in, at least in my case. We tried it, but it doesn't work. And our experience, we do it once a week, but we stay connected with WhatsApp and other tools actually, but to have it fixed one day at least a week. The other concern actually became difficult. We canceled a lot of activities with our partner. Most of those activities are field-related visit, let's say. And it is now the shift to virtual kind of courses and training. It could be covered some of the activities, but the other activities which need more to come closer to the community, to do survey or to do focus group discussion, it is not replaceable with the virtual world we are knowing, yeah, as organizations advance. We are struggling to find the ways how we deal with this problem. Maybe you have already advanced experience on that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Karim. Philippe, the floor is yours, and if you can make it short, thank you.
Okay, great. Well, related to the first one, I mean, of course, I agree with you. I think it depends from every association and also the amount of work and interaction you need to achieve your objectives. So I think in my case, the daily meeting was just an example. I think what is important is let's discuss what is the working balance of everyone. Make sure also if, of course, staff members have different lives, someone with kids, someone without any kids. Let's make sure that this is taken consideration and trying to accommodate all this change. I think this is more the idea behind, and then make sure that yes, the work is done, but also that everyone that needs to have an overview can have an overview. And that can be translated by a written report, that can be translated into a call if necessary. But I think this is more the idea behind. And the second aspect related to partners, that's also a concern I have. And what I have noticed is so far, and I am a partner for some association, we are contacted just to inform that indeed events are cancelled, but we are not really involved on the plan. We are not really involved into maybe let's join a discussion that we could say to the association what we will expect from them. So I think it's one thing to inform your partners and sponsor, but give them maybe a room, especially in this time that everyone seems to lose control. Give them control again. Involve them also on the process of how we can go and how we could move on this situation together. So I think this is also a message I think important to remember is partner is just not someone that needs to be notified of what will be actually done in terms of what was already planned, but also maybe more important now, be involved into what we need to do together and actually just feel engaged.
Thank you, Philip. I do understand the concern of Karim, especially in the Arab world where we have completely different perspective of work. Online homework is not something that we are used to. So it's very difficult to create a new culture. But again, this challenge could turn into opportunity. So thank you so much for joining, and thank you for listening, and thank you, Philippe, for sharing with us your insights. We're going to share with all the participants the presentation of Philippe, and you will have his contact details in case you want to get in touch with him. InterelGroup is one of the biggest organizations in the world that is dealing with associations, needs, problems. So you can get in touch with him regarding that. And please stay tuned and check our Facebook page for the next webinars. As I mentioned, we have every week 3 webinars in French, Arabic, and in English. Thank you so much, everyone, and I wish you a very safe and healthy weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Much.
Bye. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.